Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Before we start with our practice questions for the day, we have a quick gentle reminder. The weekly current affairs explain session for today would be what is freebies debate. Please do tune in live on our YouTube channel at 8 p.m. so that you understand everything about this topic. Let's get started and look into the first question. With respect to the disqualification of a member of parliament, who among the following decides whether the member was holding an office of profit? Election Commission, President, Presiding Officer, Supreme Court. The answer to this is President. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the office of profit allegation. Let us try and understand what is this concept. There are two words here. One happens to be office, the other happens to be the profit. You will have the member of the parliament or the member of legislative assembly who would have an office. From this office, he is generating some pecuniary advantages, financial monetary benefits. As a result, such a person will be disqualified under Article 102 of 1 or Article 191 of 1. Under the provisions of Article 102 of 1 and the Article 191 of 1, an MP or an MLA is barred from holding any office of profit under the central or the state government. Let's take a broader picture. What do we understand by office of profit? Is it something to do with the private income? The answer is a clear-cut no. There have been number of sports people who have become the members of the parliament. We have had Sachin Tendulkar in the past. Now we also have Gautam Gambhir as well. They also get private income because they do go to matches. They do what lot of commentary as well. They also act as coaches for number of IPL teams as well. So what they generate is the private income. So does this mean it is office of profit because they're generating some money, because they're generating monetary benefits? The answer is a no. You also have number of film stars as well. For example, Jaya Bachchan ji, or you will also have number of other film stars who have become MLAs as well. In the past, we have had Chiranjeevi ji, and you have also had number of people who have become the film stars and they go on to become MPs and the MLAs. So they do generate private income. Does this mean it falls under the office of profit? The answer is a clear-cut no. But what is this office of profit? This is where we have to look into the concept of separation of powers. When you consider United States of America, you have clear-cut separation of powers. One, you have the legislature, then what you have is the executive, and finally what you have is the judiciary. In United States of America, what we have is the clear-cut separation of powers. But when it comes to India, we have the parliamentary system. In parliamentary system, we do not have this clear-cut differentiation or separation of powers. First, they have to get elected as the legislature, and it is the legislature who also go on to become the executive. So the office of profit concept clearly goes on to say that legislature is a separate entity, executive is a separate entity, judiciary is a separate entity. Each have their own roles to play here. And when it comes to parliamentary legislature, the ministers in themselves are an office of profit, but then there is an exemption given to it. The article clarifies that a person shall not be deemed to hold an office of profit under the government of India or the government of any state by reason only that he is a minister. So the minister in itself is an office of profit, but then he is being given an exemption. So the legislature, if they go on to become the executive, if the exemption is also not given under the Prevention of Disqualification Act of 1959, in that case the legislature will be disqualified. So basically the legislature will have to keep a check on the authority of the executive. But if they go on to become the executive and it is not given an exemption as a minister or under the Prevention of the Disqualification Act of 1959, in such a case that legislature will be disqualified. So basically what we have is clear-cut differentiation of powers in United States of America, but in India we do not have so. Legislature should keep a check on the executive, but if legislature themselves go on to become executive and they're deriving some profits from it, some financial monetary advantages from it, in that that case, they would not be able to question the executive, which basically means that they are not taking care of their responsibility, and ultimately office of profit will come into picture and they shall be disqualified. Is what is this concept of office of profit? If you look into the question with respect to the disqualification of a member of parliament, who among the following decides whether the member was holding an office of profit? This happens to be the President of India. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following are the potential health effects of noise pollution? High blood pressure, heart disease, sleep disturbances, stress, weakening of immune system, respiratory problems. The answer to this is 1, 2, 3 and 4 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the noise pollution, which is why we have taken this practice question. So which of the following are the potential health effects? It includes high blood pressure, heart disease, sleep disturbance and stress, but it does not include weakening of the immune system or the respiratory problems. What are the causes of noise pollution? It includes industrialization, improper planning of urban areas, social events, vehicles and transportation, construction site. As part of the assignment, you have to put on the comment section which is the law that governs about noise pollution in India. Please put it on the comment section. What are the effects of noise pollution? Hypertension, hearing disability, sleeping disorders as well as cardiovascular issues. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements with respect to Sattriya. Sattriya dance form was introduced in the 15th century as a powerful medium for the propagation of the Vaishnava faith. It is a dance form practiced in the state of Assam. It is based on the classical ragas and talas of devotional songs composed of Tulsidas, Kabir and Mirabai. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is 1 and 2 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to Sattriya, which is why we have taken this practice question. When it comes to the third statement is wrong. It is based on classical ragas and tablas of devotional songs composed of Tulsidas, Kabir and Mirabai. This is not associated with Sattriya. If we have to look into the facts, the Sattriya dance was introduced in the 15th century by the great Vaishnava saint and reformer of Assam, Mahapurusha Sankara Deva, as a powerful medium for the propagation of Vaishnava faith. The Indian dance form evolved and expanded as a distinct style of dance later on. This neo-Vaishnava treasure of Assamese dance drama has been for centuries nurtured, preserved with greater commitment by the Satras, that is the Vaishnava mats or the monasteries. There are two types of dances in the neo-Vaishnava movement. One is called as Ojapalli, the other happens to be Devdasi. There are two types of Ojapalli dances. One happens to be Sukani, the other happens to be Vyagoha Ojapalli. Suknani Ojapalli is of Shakti cult and Vyagoha Ojapalli is of the Vaishnava cult. The dancers in the Ojapalli chorus not only sing and dance but also explain the narration by gestures and the stylized movements. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements about Thumri are correct? Thumri originated in the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh. Thumri is supposed to be romantic and erotic style of singing and is also called lyric of the Indian classical music. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is both. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to Thumri, which is why we have taken this practice question. What is this Thumri? This happens to be a style of singing in the Hindustani classic. There are other forms as well. This include Drupad, Kayal, Tappa and Thumri happens to be a form of Hindustani music. When we speak about Thumri, it originated in the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh. It is influenced by Hori, Kajri and Dadra. Thumri is supposed to be the romantic and erotic style of singing and is also called the lyric of Indian classical music. The song composition is mainly on love and devotion. So remember, a Thumri is usually performed as the last item of a Kayal concert. Its lyrics are typically in Brij Bhasha and are usually romantic and religious. The text is usually derived from the Radha Krishna theme and is of primary importance, and this theme revolves around love, its overwhelming emotions for longing and teasing, and ultimately pain and anger also falls into this emotion as well. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following freedom fighters: Barindra Kumar Ghosh, Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee, Rash Bihari Bose. Who of the above were actively associated with the Ghadar Party? The answer to this is 3 only. This happens to be a previous year question from the year 2022. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is One Nation One Fertiliser scheme. Let us try and understand what is this topic all about. When we speak about Government of India, the Government of India has taken number of initiatives in the past for the welfare of the farmers. One such initiative which the Government of India has taken with respect to the fertilizers is in the form of subsidy. So the Government of India feels that what we require is a uniformity in the fertilizer branch across the country. The government issued an order directing all companies to sell their products under a single brand name of Bharat as shown in the image. So following the order, all fertilizer bags, whether containing urea or diammonium phosphate or muriate of potash or NPK, will sport the brand name as Bharat Urea, Bharat DAP, Bharat MOP and Bharat NPK irrespective of the company that manufactures it, whether it is public or the private. So basically, under the new One Nation One Fertiliser scheme, companies are allowed to display their name, brand logo and other relevant product information only on the 1/3 space of their bags. So this 1/3 space as shown in the image is where the company details will be given. But for the other 2/3, what we will have is the Bharat brand and the Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Urvak Pariyojana logo, which will be shown as shown in the image. Why did the Government of India come up with such a scheme? That is because the government believes as of now it is the government which is providing the subsidy. The maximum retail price of urea is currently fixed by the government, which compensates companies for the higher cost of manufacturing or imports incurred by them. So it is the government which is providing the subsidy. The government is making sure that the lower cost is because of the government and not because of the company policy. Apart from subsidizing and deciding at what price companies can sell, the government also provides where they can sell. This is done through the Fertilizer Movement Control Order of 1973. Under this, the Department of Fertilizers draws an agreed monthly supply plan on all subsidized fertilizers in consultation with the manufacturers and importers. So because it is the government which is spending vast amount of money on fertilizer subsidy, the bill is almost crossing 2 lakh crore in 2022 and 23, plus deciding where and what price companies can sell. It would obviously want to take the credit, and this should not go to the industries. So basically the government is spending everything. It is providing the subsidy. It is making sure that the cost of the fertilizers is going down so that it is affordable for the farmers. Since it is the government which is also an active participant when it comes to the fertilizers, why not the government take the credit for it? As of now, it is the company's logo which is taking the credit. So going forward, the government will also take the credit so that the farmers know that the government is also working for them, is the initiative of this particular scheme. So in this particular image, about 2/3 is where what we will have is the government's logo and the scheme, and the 1/3 is where the company will have its logo as well as the scheme. So this is the intention of this particular scheme. However, there are concerns that have been voiced as well. What are these concerns? When it comes to companies also put in a lot of money as well. They do a lot of advertising as well, and at the same time they do have lot of units where they will put up these advertising platforms. So if the government is taking away all the advantages, the company will suffer. So the order has drawn adverse reaction from the fertilizer companies, claiming it will kill their brand value and the market differentiation, and the companies may suffer in the near future, is one such concern. The second concern is, as of now, in case there is a company, this company has released one of the fertilizer product. If it is not meeting the intended standards, all the criticism goes to this particular company as well as the product. But right now, since the government is taking up the responsibility because it is providing the subsidy, if something goes wrong, it is the government which will also be responsible for it and not the company, and the government may have a bleak picture about it and wrong image from the farmers, says another concern. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.